The sepia-toned photograph shows what looks like a simple, happy moment from 1902. A young girl stands next to a bicycle on a dusty street in Lowell, Massachusetts. Her dress is plain, her smile gentle, and the bicycle shines in the afternoon sunlight. For many years, people saw it as a picture of early 20th century childhood, a time of new ideas and inventions. The image appeared on postcards and in public displays as a sign of America's hard-working and forward-moving spirit. A girl, a wheel, a country moving ahead. But more than 100 years later, digital restoration uncovered a detail no one had spotted before. The real story behind that smile was not innocent or by chance. It all started in 2019 when documentary photographer and historian Lydia Brooks got permission to enter the private archives of the Marramac Textile Company, one of the oldest mill sites in Massachusetts. The collection had stayed closed for almost a century. It held thousands of photographs, account books, and inspection papers that told the story of industrial America's growth. Among the old glass plates and worn prints, one picture caught her eye right away. It showed a 9-year-old girl with a bicycle in front of the company's red brick warehouse. Written by hand on the edge was her name, Lydia Carter, 1902. The photo looked carefully arranged, clearly made by a skilled photographer, probably hired by the mill owners. Lydia's smile appeared real, but her body looked stiff, like she had practiced the pose. When Lydia scanned the image at high resolution, she noticed something strange. The bicycle had a brass emblem with the company logo, the same one used on advertising posters back then. The mill did not make bicycles, though, so why put one in an industrial picture? As she improved the background digitally, faint shapes appeared, the blurry outline of loom machines through an open warehouse door, and 2 other children partly hidden behind Lydia. They were barefoot, their faces turned away. The more Lydia looked, the less pure the scene seemed. She compared the photo to a 1903 company catalogue and found the same image, but cropped and cleaned up. It was used in an advertisement that said, "Our factories build America's future, strong, healthy, and proud." Lydia's smiling face helped sell the idea of a happy, thriving group of workers. In reality, Marramac was well known for hiring very young children, some as little as 7, to work in the spinning rooms. They earned only a few cents for 12-hour days. Lydia checked old census records for Lydia's name. What she discovered was sad. A 1910 record listed Carter, Lydia, age 17, occupation, spinner, textile mill. Lydia had not just posed for a photo. She had worked there during most of her childhood. The picture, once loved for its charm, was really a planned deception. One last disturbing clue came when Lydia looked closer at the restored glass plate negative. There was a faint reflection in the bicycle's metal frame, pale and ghostly, caught on the curved chain guard. At first she thought it was a mark from the chemicals, something normal in old glass photos. But after changing the exposure and contrast, she saw what it was. A hand holding the bicycle seat from behind. Not a child's hand, thick fingers, rough knuckles, nails dark with dirt. Someone had been cut out of the printed copies. Only the high-resolution scan showed he was there at all. Lydia improved the area around it more. Behind Lydia's neat dress, faint lines appeared, the edge of a factory door, and beyond it, blurry shapes of workers in the shadows. One of them, probably the overseer, made sure Lydia stood exactly right, turning her smile into a controlled symbol of child work dressed up as innocence. In the background, other figures watched the scene, almost hidden. The whole image felt arranged, not a natural portrait but a planned show. Lydia searched the company's old letters in the same archive. She found a 1902 note from Charles Marramac, the mill director, telling his foreman to pick 2 or 3 of the cleaner-looking girls for photos. Clean them up, give them things to hold, show that our young people are healthy and hard-working. The bicycle, Lydia understood, was not Lydia's. It was just a prop brought in for the picture, to make the child look free and well off. At that time, Marramac was being looked into for breaking child labor laws. Lydia checked the Massachusetts Bureau of Statistics of labor reports from 1902. Marramac was one of 28 mills blamed for using underage workers. The company sent in several photographs to prove things were good. One matched Lydia's picture exactly, but a handwritten note from a state inspector told the truth child identified as Lydia Carter, age 9, Says she goes to school, but records show full-time work since August. The mill had turned mistreatment into advertising. The digital scan showed the man's hand gripping the seat, thick fingers, rough knuckles, dirt-stained nails, keeping Lydia steady for the perfect pose. More enhancement showed a faint dark line across her forearm. It was probably a fabric strap used to tie children close to the machines so they could not move away. The cheerful girl with the bicycle was actually a worker on her break, dressed up to fool the inspectors. For more than a century, the photograph had been praised as a sign of childhood and progress. In truth, it showed captivity, children held still for the good of business. Marramac's picture was not the only one. It was part of a bigger effort to turn hardship into nice publicity. Ella Lanina decided to put together Lydia's full story from every record she could find. The 1900 U.S. Census showed her living with her widowed mother, Eleanor Carter, in a small crowded home near the Marramac River. Lydia, age 7, was listed as going to school. By 1910, things had changed. Eleanor had died from tuberculosis, and Lydia, now 17, was listed as a textile worker. Between those years, a whole childhood had disappeared into the mill machines. A labor inspection report from June 14, 1902, the same summer the photo was taken, noted many injuries among young workers at Marramac. The company paid a small fine of $25, and the case was quietly dropped. In the inspector's notes was this line: photographs given by management to prove better conditions. One shows a girl about 9 years old, posed with a bicycle, for PR reasons. The photo had been part of a legal cover-up. Ella Lanina then looked at the files of the National Child Labor Committee, NCLC, the group that later hired Lewis Hine to show the abuses. In their 1903 to 1915 collection, she found many similar pictures, children posed, tied down, and arranged to look healthy, smiling and busy, all hiding the hard truth of work back then. Through careful digital work, Ella Lanina started to remove the layers of pretend, showing the hidden systems of control, watching, and force that had shaped Lydia's early years. Each photo became more than an old picture of America. It became proof, a window into lives built only for show. While hidden from the law, these staged photos were shown everywhere. Once locked in old storage, now coming out through Ella Lanina's digital work. Children smiling next to props, bicycles, books, flags, even small animals, made to look content. Yet all were workers, often tied near machines, tired from long hours. But the Marramac photo came a few years before the others. It was an early try at company picture tricks, the photo version of a false report. The sweet scene of Lydia Carter with her bicycle was pure propaganda. Ella Lanina's big find came from an old local newspaper, the Low Evening Telegram, dated September 4, 1902. In the community news was a short item: Marramac Textile announces better facilities and more jobs for local families. A nice photograph of one of our youngest residents, Miss Lydia Carter, was taken to show the bright future for our town's children. It was a public relations move, and it worked. People stopped complaining about child labor, and state inspectors looked the other way. But Ella Lanina could not forget Lydia's face. The small smile, once seen as sweet, now looked like forced obedience. More research found an oral story recorded in the 1970s with a former Marramac worker, Margaret O'Donnell, who started there as a child in 1905. One part stood out: they'd line us up sometimes, make us look happy for the camera, said it was to show the good spirit of American youth. One girl cried so much they had to stop. I think her name was Lydia. The proof was clear. Lydia Carter had not been picked by chance. She was chosen because she looked nice in photos, seemingly innocent and easy to use. The picture that once stood for progress now proved trickery. It was one of the first clear examples of industrial image lies in the United States. As Ella Lanina put her findings together for a book, she saw the story was bigger than Lydia. It was about every child who worked out of sight in the mills, whose smiles were captured to cover the loud machines. In one still moment, Lydia left a mark of both her pain and her quiet strength. After many weeks in the archives, Ella Lanina noticed the pattern. From 1895 to 1910, textile companies all over New England paid professional photographers to create a story of success. These were not news people. They were early experts in shaping public views, long before the name public relations existed. Their job was clear: make hardship look like success. Ella Lanina found hundreds of such pictures in Boston, Providence, and Manchester. Children stood next to machines, looms shining, overseers just outside the frame. Props like books, flags, and bicycles were placed on purpose. Every part was planned. The photos were never about showing real life. They were about hiding it. A 1903 factory notice even said it plainly: clean faces, bright clothes, cheerful look. The child should show the energy of the new American time. The difference between these company pictures and the later ones by Lewis Hine was huge. Hine's photos showed the tiredness, bare feet, and hurt hands of child workers. Marramac's pictures looked bright and fake happy by comparison, a made-up picture of joy. Lydia started calling these images the manufactured smile collection. It is a record of force hidden as happiness, one frame showing both innocence and hard use. She stopped, letting the meaning sink in. "This image," she said, "shows how business could change what people see, how a child's work, her tiredness, her young age could be turned into proof of good times. But it also keeps the truth. Lydia's eyes, her way of standing, the hidden hand, they speak across time." People asked many questions. Some wanted to know about other children, others about the mills. Lydia said Lydia was just the first one she found, an early example of what became a large planned effort. Each staged photo was a lie on top of truth. But with modern tools, the truth could now come out. In the weeks after, museums started digitizing their old industrial photos, marking the children as workers instead of symbols. Historians updated books with side-by-side views, the clean company versions and the raw negatives that showed the tricks. The story of Lydia Carter and the manufactured smile collection turned into a way to teach about labor history, ethics, and how to read images. For Lydia, it felt personal. Standing, the old Marramac building, now quiet, she sensed Lydia and thousands like her. The restored photos had given those children a voice after more than a century of silence. The smiling girl with the bicycle was no longer only a sign of progress. She was a witness, someone who lived through hidden cruelty. Now seen at last, the photograph did what the mill never wanted. It told the truth, quietly, to anyone who looked carefully. It is proof not just of wrongdoing back then, but of a society that decided not to look too hard. Her work started a new interest among teachers and historians to look again at the start of industrial America, not only with words, but with pictures, to ask how photography, thought to show truth, was also used to cover it up. Soon after, the Marramac Textile Museum opened an exhibit called The Children Who Worked for the Camera. At the front was a large print of Lydia's photo, restored but unchanged. The faint reflection of the man's hand was pointed out, with a note explaining its meaning. Below the picture, carved in metal, were words from a 1908 note found later in a school record. "I don't ride the bicycle, I only hold it. It belongs to the man." Visitors left the exhibit quietly. Some cried. Teachers started bringing classes to learn not just about factories, but about truth, how simple it is to show pain as success. Months later, a congressional group on labor invited Lydia to speak at hearings about child labor today in U.S. farming and factories abroad. When asked why a photo from 1902 still matters in 2025, she answered, "Because every new time thinks it has left bad treatment behind, until it looks at the faces of its workers and sees they are still children." Her words appeared in news stories everywhere. Money came in to support new studies finding forgotten child workers from the early 1900s. Families of old mill owners sent in stories, letters, and hidden photos passed down without explanation. That fall, Lydia went back to the Marramac River. The old mill stood silent in the warm light, its bricks covered in moss and time. She sat by the water with a copy of Lydia's photograph. For years, the girl had been a picture of American success. Now she was more, a sign of strength and of truth that will not stay hidden. As the sun went down behind the factory roof, Lydia thought of Lydia's small smile again. Not forced anymore, but free. History has a way of showing itself bit by bit, until even the tiniest reflection tells the full story. The story of Lydia Carter is made up, but everything around her world was real. In the early 1900s, photographers like Lewis Hine showed the harsh truth of American child labor, revealing what fake pictures tried to cover. More than 2 million children worked in mills, mines, and factories across the country. Many started as young as 6. Their photographs, tired faces next to loud machines, changed things, leading to strong anger that helped create the Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938, which at last limited child labor across the nation. Even now, the same pattern happens in other places around the world. Smiling faces in ads and factory pictures remind us that images can hide the truth unless we look closer. Lydia's story is a mirror held up to the past and to today, a reminder that every photograph chooses what to show and what to keep hidden.